Happy Easter Sunday, Jamaica. Whether you're getting ready for church or maybe taking the day a little slower at home, perhaps you're gearing up for an exciting Easter egg hunt this afternoon, planning a lovely brunch with family and friends, or even packing your bag for a relaxing trip to the beach. Bun and cheese in tow, of course, today holds something special for everyone. But in the midst of the fun, the food and the festivities, let's take a moment to remember the true reason for this season. Today is more than tradition. It's a celebration of hope fulfilled. He is risen. Jesus Christ is alive. And that truth continues to inspire, uplift, and remind us that no matter where we are or what we are doing today, there's always room to reflect, to give thanks, and to embrace the joy of Easter. Hi there, I'm your host Adrian Atkinson. More in Jamaica Magazine right after this break.
Hey there, I'm Landy, your friendly guide to NLA Connect, the National Land Agency's customer engagement platform. Today we'll be navigating our page with some frequently asked questions.
Hey Landy, what's NLA Connect?
Hey there. NLA Connect is a simple, user-friendly online platform that's available 24/7 to customers, where they can submit various requests about land-related matters.
Hi Landy, how do I submit a request to NLA Connect?
Hi customer. Once on the platform, click Request and fill out the form with your details. Choose the relevant division and select the type of request. Pick your preferred response method, review, and consent to the privacy notice. Then submit. You will receive a case number to track your request.
Tell me something, Landy. Can you submit more than one request at a time?
No, you can only submit one request type at a time. Once that case is closed, feel free to send in another.
Landy, am I able to track my request?
Yes. To track your request status, click the Status tab, enter your email or case number, verify with the code sent to your email, and then view updates ranging from submitted to closed.
How does the NLA treat my data?
Our privacy policy is in accordance with the Data Protection Act 2020. As a result, some of the technical measures used to protect your data includes firewalls, encryptions, and regular system updates. Also, our employees are only provided with your information on a need-to-know basis. Still have questions? Visit www.nla.gov.jm. Go to Applications, select NLA Connect, and check out our FAQs tab for more information. NLA Connect, your voice, our priority.
Across Jamaica, strong communities don't happen by chance. They're built through vision, partnership, and dedicated support. The Social Development Commission, SDC, has long been at the heart of that effort, working to empower citizens, strengthening local leadership, and driving sustainable development at the community level. In this week's episode of Get the Facts, we take a closer look at the SDC's vital role in shaping and building communities across the island.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the show that gives you the latest information on important topics. I'm Theodore Henry. As some of us observe Easter Sunday, a time of hope, renewal, and new beginnings, it's a fitting moment to reflect on the importance of strong, resilient communities. Across Jamaica, the work of the Social Development Commission, SDC, continues to play a vital role in supporting and uplifting citizens, especially in times of challenge and recovery. Today we take a closer look at how the SDC is making an impact, the support being provided to communities, and what lies ahead in the months to come. To give us that update is the SDC's Executive Director, Omar Frith. Welcome to Get the Facts, Sir Frith.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
All right, let's jump right into getting some facts. I like a definition right at the start.
Yes.
Help us understand what the SDC does.
Well, first of all, the SDC is the principal community development agency empowered by an act of parliament, the Social Development Act.
Right.
And this allows the SDC to focus primarily on building communities across Jamaica. We're looking at ensuring that communities are in a position to participate in governance, to shape their socio-economic destinies, and to generally improve their lives. So SDC is the focal entity of the government, helping to organize over 775 communities across the country.
That's across Jamaica?
Across Jamaica.
All right. General uplifting their lives. I hope you don't mind me boiling it down to that, but I like that
Yes.
line. Generally leading people to uplifted lives. So what have been some of the things that SDC has been working on over the last, 6 months, year?
Well, those key projects and programs are couched in a very focused strategic set of priorities. I'd like to share some of those with you, then just pretty much outline what the programs look like.
Right.
And so we would have agreed in our strategic plan to focus on 5 things. 1, to improve local governance by strengthening CSOs. These are civil service organizations. Okay. The assumption is that people have ideas about their own challenges they face in their communities.
Right.
People have ideas about the solutions they want to implement. So there has to be a structured mechanism that enable people to participate, to have a voice in decision-making in their communities.
Okay.
So that platform, we call it participatory governance. So SDC wants to ensure that we have active community-based organizations, CDCs, community development committees.
Like you can give us a sample of one of those?
An example of a community-based organization is a citizens association, youth club.
Right.
And in a specific geographic location, you may have 5, 6, or 7 of those, and other stakeholders, whether these are business interests in the communities, coming together to form what we call a community development committee.
Okay.
So that committee is enabling that broad-based community participation in identifying solutions and participating in governance. That leads up into a bigger structure, the Parish Development Committee, that really is helping to build accountability and participatory decision-making at the parish level. So that's important. That's one of the key things SDC has done strategically. The second thing, and we'll perhaps give you some examples later on, the second thing that we'll look at is to verify legitimate CSOs. So having identified that they exist, the civil service organizations, we want to ensure that they are credible, legitimate. So
do you help them with legitimacy or just check for legitimacy?
So we identify basic standards that they should abide by.
Okay.
And then we provide capacity building, we provide training and hand-holding. So ultimately, a verified organization is an entity that can now receive grant funding, both from the SDC and external partners.
So there's a benefit to being
Benefit to the individual. So they themselves can write their own project proposals and get money to solve their own problems. So even a great example of what we would have done to strengthen these CSOs, we recently had a very, very powerful series of governance conferences across the country. This was sponsored by the PIOJ. That helped us to bring together over 300 leaders across communities in 5 parishes, providing them with the tools to become individually competent and capable to lead decision-making and participatory governance in their own spaces. So that's a very important strategy. And thirdly, we want to ensure that we are expanding or updating our database of community listings, community profiles, and maps.
So the 700 and plus that you mentioned was not an exhaustive list of every community?
That's what we have mapped so far. Okay. And as we observe, there are emerging communities, we continue to map those. But the key to having data at the community level is to ensure that the government of Jamaica, private sector entities, and stakeholders in general have actual evidence-based data that they can use to inform planning. So that has been an important strategy. And finally, we want to ensure that we're increasing access to local economic development opportunities. Simply put, there are many enterprises, nano enterprises, those grassroots businesses, a man who may have a barbershop, an ordinary citizen have a little hairdressing parlor, somebody trying to make a living for themselves, but don't have access to business training, don't have access to funding, don't have access to proper capacity building. So one of our strategies is to ensure that we're identifying those local economic initiatives and providing support for them.
I want to drill down into that strategy a little bit more, because what does that look like? This employment creation, skill building, legitimization that should tie quite nicely into economic growth. What does that look like for that barbershop? What does SDC do for that shop?
So what it means is that SDC, first and foremost, creates a profile of the individual business. Look at what it looks like, what services are they offering, what are their strengths and weaknesses and gaps that exist, and provide training. These training may include training in financial management, how to create a business plan, how to market and create opportunities to put your product out there on the market. We also create a strategy utilizing economic villages. So in specific locations across the country, we identify strategic spots where people can come together. A group of local enterprises can come together to market their products and connect people with external partners to help them to grow as well.
So it's not what the sense I'm getting as we head to our break is not a one-size-fits-all. SDC comes in, does the assessment, works with the proprietor to upskill.
Indeed. And we have done 184 of that type of training sessions over the period. And we're looking to do more going forward.
Wonderful. All right. So we're going to take a break right now, after which we'll continue this discussion with Omar Frith, the Executive Director of the Social Development Commission, SDC. Please stay with us.
Every day, we share personal information online, at work, and on our phones. But once it's shared, it can't always be taken back. Protect your data by avoiding oversharing, using strong passwords, and never clicking suspicious links. Be careful what you post. Don't share your live location, and keep your devices updated and secure.
Remember, your data is valuable. Protecting it isn't optional, it's necessary.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. Omar Frith, Executive Director, Social Development Commission, SDC, is still here with us, getting us up to speed on the agency's programs. And in that train of thought, Sir Frith, everybody, we're still going to be talking about Hurricane Melissa. And I want to get a good sense of what has been SDC's role post-Hurricane Melissa.
Interestingly, the SDC has a very significant role that we would have played pre-Melissa, but post-Melissa, that role expanded. The Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, or Period Ministry, would have engaged us to provide critical support in conducting a series of surveys in order to provide well-needed data to help the government in planning both relief and recovery efforts.
Right, because you have been stressing so far, data-driven decision-making.
Important. And so following the passage of Hurricane Melissa, there were questions concerning alternative accommodations and temporary accommodations for persons who were in shelters, given the fact that, schools would have needed to be opened very soon. And a large number of persons were in shelters, and there was a need to find alternative accommodations. And so SDC was deployed to conduct what is called a temporary accommodation survey across the country. We were also asked to do alternative assessments on community centers, not just for the immediacy of the hurricane, but doing an assessment to look at existing strategic community centers across the country that could serve as future shelters.
Right.
So that schools should no longer be relied upon in the future as community centers. We're also asked to look at the specific school-age children who are in shelters to identify those children who have been out of school as a consequence of being in shelters, and to determine what are the reasons that would have caused them to be out of school and find solutions to assist them reintegrating in schools.
Yeah.
The SDC also played a key role in what we call the REST program, the Reintegration, Empowerment and Shelter Transition Program. So the government offered a number of options for persons who are in shelters to transition back into their normal lives.
Yeah.
So one, there are persons who were offered the opportunity to find a rental of homes outside of schools. Government provided funding to pay rent for persons who could find homes that they could stay in. SDC facilitated that.
Over what term?
This would have happened since November up till now. So the SDC
so it's continuing. Okay.
Continuing. Well, it's not going to be eternal.
Right. Yeah.
There was a specific time period that we're assisting persons who could identify those options.
Right. Right.
For those who could not find places to rent, we also assisted persons to reintegrate with families. We also looked at another option. There were persons who had to relocated from schools to other types of shelters in the communities. So we were able to partner with a number of churches who offer their facilities to move people from schools so that the schools could be ready for the reopening in January.
Understood.
So the SDC was critical in that. And beyond that, there are a number of shelters that also required continuous development, access to a number of services, both psychosocial services or other care and support that the SDC was able to assist the government with. So overall, the SDC has been providing significant support, generally in the development of surveys, the implementation of those assessments, including market and economic recovery surveys. As you know, many markets are the lifeblood of economic activity in the various parishes, and quite a number of those markets were destroyed. And so SDC did a significant number of studies across the parishes to ascertain whether or not the markets were viable in their current locations, what were the views of the citizens concerning accessibility, and whether or not it was a good idea to put them back where they were.
Right, where they were.
So there were those, the priority areas would have been in the 5 parishes that were most significantly impacted in the western parishes, and those research continues. Finally, we would have also assisted the Ministry of Labour and Social Security with conducting the damage assessment surveys to ascertain what are the level of damages that people experienced
at the community
level. To inform the Ministry of Labour's now implementation of the support that they have been given at this level. Finally, a big one. As you know, the Prime Minister would have announced a special allocation to support churches in their cleanup and recovery. So 75 million would have been allocated to specifically assist those churches impacted in 5 parishes. And so SDC is the implementing agency for that program.
You didn't understate at all. That is a significant response post-hurricane. All right, so we have just a little time remaining. I want you to give us, looking ahead for the 2026-2027 financial year, if you could just give us a highlight of some of the flagship projects that the SDC will be taking on, and then speak directly to the audience with that which rests on your heart, sir, as we round out the interview.
Well, at the top of the agenda for the new financial year, we want to continue to strengthen the local economy. We want to continue to provide access to grant funding for local economic enterprises. In the financial year closing out, we will have assisted over 300 local economic enterprises with over 8 million in grants. So we are looking to do a similar allocation this year to approximately 350 other such local economic initiatives. So we're encouraging those nano enterprises, whether you have a corner shop, whether you are a barber, reach out to your SDC parish office to see how you can benefit from one of those grants. We also want to continue to strengthen our participatory governance framework. We want to ensure that more people are volunteering and contributing to decision-making at the community level. So we want to ensure that we are providing more access to training and development of community-based organizations to ensure that youth are also engaged and continue to be strong volunteers. And finally, very importantly, staff development. While we are taking care of the country, we have to take care of the staff. And we have been going through a very Important transformational and organizational restructuring, and we want to continue to build the capacity of our staff to deliver excellent service, but we also want to improve our plants, improve our physical buildings so that our staff can work in an environment that makes them more productive. Wildly important. Thank you, Mr. Omar Frith, Executive Director, Social Development Commission, SDC. We thank him for taking time out of that busy schedule to come and share all of this with us today. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. This has been Get the Facts. Do take care.
Jamaicans consume on average 9 to 12 grams of sodium or salt per day, twice the World Health Organization recommended amount of less than 5 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt, and more ideally, less than 2 grams of sodium per adult per day from all food sources. This excess salt in the diet causes high blood pressure, kidney and bone damage, gastric cancer, obesity, and worsening of asthma. Reduce the amount of salt you consume to no more than 3 to 5 grams, or half to 1 teaspoon per day for adults, and less than 2 grams for children under 11 years of age. Let's shake the salt habit and live healthy. A public service message from the Jamaica Information Service.
As Easter celebrations continue, many Jamaicans will be enjoying one of the season staples, fish, whether it's at the beach, a family gathering, or right at home. But while you savor those flavors, it's important to keep safety in mind. In this next feature, we share what you need to know about the safe consumption of fish so you can enjoy every bite with confidence. Take a look.
From the moment a line is cast to when a fillet hits your frying pan, there is an entire system working quietly in the background to ensure what you eat is fresh, safe, and of the highest quality. At the heart of that system is the National Fisheries Authority. For the NFA, the journey begins with the fisher, guiding and supporting them to ensure Jamaica's seafood remains among the best.
The first and main thing is that we ensure that all persons fishing are licensed to be a fisher. That is the first thing. We also have data collectors, extension officers, and compliance officers who ensure that we know where the fish is caught, what was caught, the quantities. We also give good advice to our fishers how to the best practice. We also collaborate with other agencies, for example, the Public Health Department through the Ministry of Health and the Veterinary Services Division through the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining.
The NFA also provides hands-on training in vessel handling, safe diving, long line and fad fishing techniques, and most importantly, post-harvest care.
We give training on long line fisheries and fad fisheries for them to increase their catch. But we also teach them how to work with that catch after they have caught it. So our staff interacts, education is the key. And we try our best to have outreach and educational activities all the time.
But the process doesn't end at sea. Once the fish reaches shore, safety remains the priority.
The product should be iced. Ice kept in a cooler if they're transporting it, if they don't have a mobile refrigerator. If they take it home and it's there, wash the fish thoroughly with potable water and keep it refrigerated or iced until time to consume, until you're ready to use the product.
That's a standard that fishers like Kevin live by.
I bring a lot of ice with me, to preserve it, so make it fresh, right? So as I catch the fish, I go straight on the ice so it keep the meat firm. So what I normally do is I get the fish, clean it up, and I put it in a bucket or a bag with some salt water, seawater, and I will freeze that in the freezer. When you take that out, the day you're going to use it, it's just like you just catch a fish.
But freshness isn't only up to the fisher. It's something consumers should be able to spot too.
Say, for example, I sell you the fish. You'll try to make sure that it's clean thoroughly, get out the scale and the guts, wash it properly.
And the best clues, the eyes, smell, and the feel.
The eyes tell a lot, The eyes look kind of glassy, like blurry like. You can see that it's been catch for a while and probably didn't store properly. And also the smell, it have a funky smell, like it's, in Jamaica we say it smell moldy. Alright, it probably can differentiate it, or sometimes when you squeeze it, you can feel a little softness.
Once you have bought your fish, temperature is everything. Keep it as cold as possible, ideally just above freezing.
And if you're going to store it in the freezer, you try to get off most of the moisture. That way it prevents the freezer burn.
And in the kitchen, food safety is key. Cook fish to an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius. It should be opaque and flake easily with a fork. Never eat fish that smells sour, rancid, or ammonia-like, because at the end of the day, the responsibility for safe, high-quality seafood is a shared one. Next time you add fish to your grocery list, remember, it reflects the work of licensing officers, trainers, early rising fishers, and families. A tradition and a passion that keeps Jamaica thriving at sea.
We've come to the end of today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. I do hope that you enjoyed this package. To catch a repeat of this or any other, feel free to log on to our website at jis.gov.jm. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.